Greetings, ladies and gentlefish. Today I thought I'd bring you a couple of games, very low tier games, that I actually played back to back. The two games are going to be very different, although they're both going to be in this thing, the German tier 1 tank, the LTraktor, or the LTraktor for short, or as many people refer to it, the LolTraktor. Now, the two games are going to be quite different.
Auf geht's.
And I was really tossing up whether or not to show you this first game, because there is a period of time where there's kind of a lull in the action and not a great deal of much happens. But I decided to show you it in the end because I wanted to use it as an opportunity to talk about aspects of the game that sometimes, I guess, get on my nerves. Anyway, so we are here on Kampanovka, and this is going to be a very campy game, unfortunately. Now, the LTraktor, what advantage does it have over other tier 1 tanks? Well, it has a good view range. And thing number one I wanted to whinge about. Already, at the beginning of the game, a T1 on our team has managed to team damage an ally. I mean, seriously? Why did you feel the desire to pull the trigger that early on? He didn't even apologise for it. And he's turned blue. So he either, kill number one, he either damaged someone who was in the cap circle, or he's been doing this for a while now. Anyway. Right. Things I wanted to whinge about. Now, as I'm sure you're all well aware, in World of Tanks, we all get very irritated when we see that top tier heavy tank sitting at the back of the map and camping. And it gets really frustrating when that happens, because it means they're not doing their job, and if they're not doing their job, it's making your life much, much harder. You know, you can't expect someone in a Rheinmetall Borsig to lead the charge. They have no armour, no health, it's really not using their tank to their strengths, but an IS-3? Yeah, sure. And I wanted to talk mainly about potential reasons for that, but also let this video be a lesson to you, or this particular game be a lesson to you. So, there are bits of this that get a bit slow, that I could speed up, but I'm not going to. Kill number 2. I'm not going to because I want to illustrate my point, I guess. Okay, so what am I getting at? Well, people complain about campers in this game, as I said, especially if you're in a top tier heavy tank, but I think we need to bear in mind what this game encourages you to do at the low tiers. And what is it that you learn at the low tiers? Now, part of the reason I'm talking about this is because when I first started playing this game, I decided that I wanted to learn the game before, you know, moving very high up the tiers. And I also thought it would be an advantage to have 100% cruise on all my tanks before I, got too far. And that's the main reason why you may notice that I have, quite a lot of games in some of the lower tier tanks. So I've got some tier 2 tanks with over 200 games in. Now, with the exception of the LTraktor and the Cruiser 3, both of which I've kept good fun, the rest of the tanks in which I have that many games are because I was trying to learn the game at the time. And I would not recommend this. Why would I not recommend this? Because tier 1, tier 2, these low tier games do not play out in the same way as higher tier games. And so they're not the best place to learn game mechanics and to learn how the game works. But anyway, so what is it that you actually learn when you're in a low tier tank? Well, firstly, low tier tanks are almost always light tanks, with a couple of exceptions. Tier 1s, the Brits get medium tanks, everyone else gets a light tank. And, set him on fire. And that means that you have very poor armour and very poor health. Basically, you're very fragile. And so what you learn is that if you drive out of cover, especially on a map like this, if you drive out of cover, you get taken out by people who are in cover. As you saw at the beginning of the game, a bunch of enemy tanks were lit up and, a number of them got taken out. And thus, if you leave cover, you will likely die. Now, of course, if that's a lesson that you teach someone early on in the game, they're going to try and use that lesson later on to not die. I.e., they're going to go from being in their MS1 at tier 1 and trying to not leave cover, and eventually they're going to be in a KV1 and still trying to sit behind cover, sniping merrily away. And so is it any wonder that we get people who are camping? Okay, well there's the first thing. And you can see, sorry, just getting back to the match. It's basically background at the moment, isn't it? We're winning, we're losing 7-9. And I am using this wreck for cover because if I can keep this wreck between myself and the enemy spawn point, where they probably have a good number of tanks sitting, then hopefully if I do get spotted by anybody, that wreck will absorb a number of shots and give me some cover. Anyway, what else do you learn at low tiers? Well, you get this idea that you shouldn't leave cover reinforced, because at low tiers you get some guns that can kill you very, very, very quickly. What sort of guns am I talking about? Well, even at tier 1 you get autocannons. The T1, the American tier 1 light tank, is fast, it's mobile, and it has an autocannon that can basically clip, you know, most, if not all, other same tier tanks. And by clip them, I mean, we just lost that medium 1. And sorry, just to go back, that was a very good example. That guy driving the medium 1 almost certainly does not know how the spotting mechanics of this game works. He just drove across an open field, got taken out by people behind a bush, didn't spot them, we weren't able to give him covering fire because of that, and he died. What has he learned? He has learned that by leaving a bush, you die. Is that really a good thing to teach people early on? Well, you have to wonder. And so, anyway, I'm going to get back to that point in a minute. Yeah, as I was saying, you get tanks with autocannons, and what can they do? They whiz around the battlefield, move around the battlefield, drive up behind you, and obliterate you. You know, if a T1 were to drive up to my LolTraktor now, it'd just kill me. And so, what does that teach the player? Well, it teaches them that they have to be very careful, they have to be very cautious, and that anyone, someone can at any moment just turn up and wipe them off the map. And then you get to tier 2. And what do you get at tier 2? Well, it's a similar sort of deal. You're still basically in light tanks, but now tank destroyers are introduced. And what does this mean? Well, this means that, you know, this situation is arguably made even worse. If you advance across a field, you now have a selection of stealthy guys with really good guns who are going to shoot you from a distance. Or, if they're driving a T18, can just drive around the map, almost impervious to damage, bearing in mind, although the T18 just does have weak spots, at low tier games, most people aren't going to be aware of that. They're probably just going to, you know, auto-target, right-click on their tank of choice and blaze away with an autocannon or something. They can just drive around and use that 75mm howitzer to one-shot people. Does that teach the person that's just been one-shotted anything? No, of course it doesn't. Apart from it teaches them to be scared and to try and stay behind cover all the time. Or to drive a T18. Anyway, there we go. Now, I appreciate that I'm in the process of whinging and moaning and complaining about camping. And if you look at what's actually happening in the game, I'm camping. And that's the thing. In these low-tier games, and I kept the LTraktor because, I know, it's sometimes fun when you've had really frustrating games at higher tiers. It's fun to drop back down to tier 1 or tier 2 or something, and just, you know, enjoy yourself. And the thing is, I'm sitting here, and in these low-tier games, the person that gets spotted first generally dies. I mean, you could say the same is true in most games, but in an LTraktor, for example, I'm not fast enough to make it across the map. Now, you could argue that I could be being more aggressive, but a lot of the time, if you are more aggressive in these low-tier games, all you manage to do is make yourself a target. You don't actually get a lot out of it. Yeah, but you could argue that perhaps I should be doing more. But, you know. Anyway. I was basically trying to wait for the enemy to make a mistake. So, LTraktor, driving across the open. I missed those 2 shots. This gun is not particularly accurate. This is the stock gun, by the way. It's the gun I prefer to use on the LTraktor. And I'm not giving these shots enough lead. Really not. But it looks like that guy might have tracked himself, maybe not. That was the 5-minute warning, by the way. You know, the mod gives you that. It's not why I have it, but it does give you that. In case you can't see, I guess, the clock up there. Oh, it's just kind of atmospheric. But anyway, our other LTraktor takes that guy out. So it's currently 9-11. And I also think that this map shouldn't actually be in low-tier games. Because knowing spotting mechanics gives you a massive advantage on this map because it's so open and there's soft cover but not much hard cover around. And this guy's saying his first battle. He's doing alright. He actually... No, I'm not going to tell you. That'd be a spoiler. And so because this map really favours those people who know spotting mechanics, if you've got a bunch of tier 1s driving around, most of the time they don't know spotting mechanics. Whereas if you've got someone like me who's got 13,000 games under their belt, they do know spotting mechanics, and so it does give you a notable advantage. And so I do wonder if this map should actually even be available for lower tiers. Or should it be, say, tier 4 and above only? I don't know. Just a thought. I mean, what other maps have you got at this available at tier 1? You've got this. You've got Himmelsdorf, which doesn't really require much knowledge of mechanics, to be honest. It's a giant city. You could argue armor angling helps, but you don't have any armor to angle, so eh. You've got Mines. Yeah, I think that map's okay. And you've got Province, which you don't get at higher tiers. Which is basically 2 ridges where people shoot each other, and you get a few people spot in the middle. But I'm actually starting to wonder, sorry, this is just kind of a stream of consciousness now. I've just realised. I'm actually starting to wonder if it would be worth not having Malinovka as a low tier map. Maybe that's part of the problem. That you have Malinovka as a low tier map and it doesn't really encourage a great deal of much other than just camping. I mean, there's a reason it's called Campanovka, let's be honest. There we go, we take out that LTraktor. And it's now 10-11, but bearing in mind one of our guys appears to be a team damaging, possibly bot, I don't even know. Hopefully he gets banned soon. Now, there's only 2.5 minutes of this game left, less than. And it was at this point that I started thinking, right, we've been sitting tight for a while, and they have been trickling towards us and slowly dying, but are they going to die fast enough? Oh, there's another one. Are we going to have to kind of... I say there, not my first battle. Are we going to have to kind of, pull our pants up and do something constructive with this? Right, well, there's the French FT. Now, I'm trying to get to a point where I can spot him without being spotted in return. Not the easiest job in the world, and we've got multiple layers of concealment here. My binoculars come up, and I take a hit to my ammo rack. But I kill the FT. Now, taking that hit to the ammo rack's not the end of the world, but it was kind of frustrating, especially with only 1.5 minutes left. I am, however, on 5 kills, which is nice. And I'm just waiting to see if there's anyone else over there. I really need to go forward and start spotting them, though. We're running out of time. T1's saying, move. Well, yeah, that's all well and good. Oh no, that's not. Sorry, I was just checking if that was the team damaging guy, but of course it's not. Right, so we've got less than 1 minute left. I now decide to move forwards because I've left it too late. And this is a lesson I wanted, hopefully, people to take away from this game. If you leave your advance too late on this map, then you run the risk of running out of time and losing it, which is a bit of a shame. And because I'm now ammo racked, I need to make these shots count.
30 seconds left.
30 seconds of the match remaining. Oh dear. This is going to be a draw, isn't it? This is the thing with Malinovka. It ends in a draw fairly often. Or more often than many maps. So, there's one hit onto the NC-31. Kill him.
5.
Kill the MS-1. There's just a medium one and a T1 left on the enemy team, but there we go. Game over. Enemy medium 1 was lost in battle. That probably means he was AFK and did nothing all game, and so it was just that T1 left who'd racked up 2 kills. Well done to him. And this was why I wasn't sure whether to show this game or not, because it's not the most interesting game, and I don't actually think it's an example of amazing gameplay either. I think the second game is better, but it is what it is. And I wanted to have a chat about, you know, what people learn in the early game and all that gumph that I waffled on about and probably bored you all to death with. But anyway, this was the first game. Despite the fact that it was a draw, because I got Top Gun, I therefore got Heroic Resistance, which of course gives you an experience buff if you lose to try and compensate for the fact that you got a shiny medal, and so I actually got an ace tanker out of this game. The very next game I played in this, because I was trying to get a win in the LTraktor, is the game I'm about to show you, so have a look at the post-game results, and then we'll get on to the second game. And hopefully you can see that with game number 2, it's a very different kettle of fish. So, as I mentioned before, I played this game directly after the first one. These were back to back, and we are here on Himmelsdorf. So you only get 4 maps at tier 1. Malinovka, Himmelsdorf, Mines, and Province. You might also get Himmelsdorf on ice, can't remember, but that's basically Himmelsdorf, but snowy. So it's essentially the same map. And this is not the LTraktor's natural environment. So the LTraktor's main advantage over its competitors, over the other tier 1s, is that it has the best view range of the lot. And Malinovka's really a map where you can use that view range. Himmelsdorf, kinda less so. Anyway, I'm going over to this valley over here to see if I can spot some people and then shoot some people. And there's a T1. One shot into him, but then he gets away. How terribly boring. Ah well, never mind. So, just being patient, just waiting, see if anyone else comes up, and indeed they do. It's an LTraktor. So, we get some shots into him as well. Second shot in, can we get a third? No, he also moves out of the way. Anyone else going to drive through the Valley of Death? Oh look, another LTraktor. So, that was a bad shot, but, you know, the gun's a bit unreliable anyway. Someone else has got first blood. Ugh. Can I get a hit? There we go, we put him on 40 health, and then he also gets into a position where I can't finish him off. Boo and indeed hiss. Anybody else? Well, that T1 that I shot earlier on has now made it onto the D line, which is kind of a little bit close for comfort, so I decided to move up. Oh, but our LTraktor takes him out. So it's all good. We're currently tying 3-all. Get my binoculars up again, and no, can't see anyone, no one's coming up here. So, we move forwards. I do appreciate that I'm kind of isolated here. And you can see that the LTraktor, while it's not particularly fast, it manoeuvres fairly well. The rear-mounted turret can sometimes be a pain, but you know, you just get used to it. And I guess it's practice for some of the higher tier tanks that also have rear-mounted turrets. And maybe some of the tank destroyers. So we're losing 4-5, and I've currently got some hits in, 5-5, but I haven't really done a vast amount, I guess. They're all behind cover. Now I don't use the autocannon on this, I use the regular, you know, pop gun, 37mm stock gun, which means that I'm not as good in a close range firefight as some of the as I could be. But if you're in a close range firefight, you're not really using this tank's view range, and frankly, you might as well be driving a T1. And oh, this is looking bad. 5-9, 6-9, and I've still not achieved that much. But I'm backing off because I'm worried about the people coming down the hill. And oh, look, it's another LTraktor. He sees me. Puts a shot into me. I think I have a better crew, because I seem to be more accurate / have a better reload. And, oh, that one bounces somehow. I'll take another shot for my troubles, and there we go. I get a kill. And my team has pulled a blinder, and they've leveled it up at 10 apiece. So I've put in some damage, and I've racked up a kill. Not too shabby. But you know, someone with 13,000 games under their belt should be able to definitely pull their weight in a tier 1 game. And the original reason that I ended up playing the LTraktor is that I was getting so frustrated with some of the higher tier tanks. It was just driving me up the wall. So, it's 10-12. And I have a go at the moving T1, but I'm not successful. So we shoot this guy who appears to be distracted. One more shot, and there we go. Kill number 2. There are 3 of them left. So I can't get a top gun or anything like that, but we'll see what we can do. 2 LTraktors and an MS1. And I'm on just under half health. And I'm just waiting to see if anyone's going to come around that corner. Oh, I'm the last one left. Okay, so it's me versus 3 of them. This guy appears to be coming around the corner. That shot misses. That one. I get a bit lucky there and ammo rack him. All praise, a bit of luck. Always nice to get. And that's my 3rd kill. So there's an LTraktor and an MS1 remaining. Now, I know there were some guys who came down off the hill earlier on, so I don't know if the MS1 is one of those. I don't think I've seen an MS1 this game. I've seen plenty of LTraktors, but I don't know if any of those is the guy who remains. No, no one else appears to be coming down Banana Valley. Banana Alley, I should say. And if you look at my ammo loadout, just an aside, you might be wondering why I have 50 high explosive shells. Well, originally, that was because in team battles, this will be my tier 1 that I'll take out, you know, sometimes. And so I thought loading high explosive might make it more effective at tracking people. In practice, I don't think I've really found that to be the case. So I'm likely going to, well, I mean, you're not going to burn through 100 shots in one game. Ooh, LTraktor. And we aim in on the little bit of him that's showing and take him out. So I might switch that back to, so all 150 rounds of armor piercing, but I don't think I'm going to burn through 100 rounds of armor piercing in one game, so I don't think it really matters. Anyway, there's just this MS1 left. Now, MS1 potentially has a good gun and has respectable armor for a tier 1. But his gun's not very accurate. And I, by far and away, have the better view range. So let's try and use what advantage I have, even if it is only on Himmelsdorf, and therefore, you know, not the best map for a view range-based tank. But let's try and use it nonetheless. And there is the MS1. He's on full health, but he's driving away from me. And I'm not even sure if he's seen me. My first shot misses. Second shot hits. Third shot tracks. The other thing with the MS1 is that he doesn't have a huge amount of health. That one bounces. He misses me. I put one shot into him. I can take a shot from him if I need, but I don't need to, and I kill him. And that's the game. And that actually ended up being another ace tanker, which was nice. 2 ace tankers back to back. But this one I found slightly more satisfying, personally. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed those videos in the LTraktor. I apologise for the first one being quite long and in places I imagine quite dull, but I did want to use the opportunity to have a bit of a rant. Whether you thought that was worthwhile or not, I leave entirely up to you. If you did enjoy any of this, then God alone help you, but if you did, please feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel, and I wish you happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao ciao.